troops, I saw a bear here. Welcome to Update 65 for Foxhole. This update brings a rework of aerial intelligence, some new early warning detection and defenses for aircrafts, and some new naval features to make your fleets more protected while in harbor. First up, as usual with these updates, let's start with the map. A couple of new things you'll notice. On the map screen, factories and mass production orders have their status shown on their map tooltips. Any buildings with icons on the maps can also now be pinned as a map tooltip. See the previous update video if you're not sure what that feature is. Also, bombers now have their own unique and distinct icon from all the other planes, since they are arguably the most important to know about. As for the map itself, in Endless Shore, a relic base was added to the Evil Eye. The observation tower has been moved further north, the airfield has been moved from Overland towards Evil Eye, putting more emphasis on the island of Evil Eye and Tuatha Watchpost. In King's Cage, the airfield was moved from East Knife to Scarlet Hold, and roads and resources have been adjusted to accommodate this. In Nevishline, a map marker was added to the island bordering the gutter, the Princefall coastal gun has been removed, and Missile Shrine has been turned into a naval base. Now, what is a naval base? Quick break from the map, a naval base is a new type of town specifically designed to safe harbor large ships and other coastal and naval facilities. The intent for these towns is to become forward operating bases for navies instead of having to return to the absolute rear line regions for rearming and repairing. These locations come with a coastal gun, an AA gun, more about that later, logistics infrastructure, and rail connections, and space for a couple of dry docks, as well as some parked ships. They do have advantages, like being able to lay some new defensive structures, but again, more on that in a little bit. Back to the maps. In Olavi's wake, a new town has been added, Iltaku, I think that's how you pronounce it, east of Yohja Relic Base. Jesus Christ, devs, please. And this new town is a naval base, so it'll have all those features we just listed. And the logging camp was relocated. In Palatine Berm, a map marker was added to the island bordering Fisherman's Row. In Piper's Enclave, a naval base was added to Syrinx Pass. In Reaver's Pass, Scuttletown has become a naval base as well, with its mountain ramp north of the town adjusted to point west, an additional ramp up the western cliffs towards the resource field, expanded the river to the east, removed the Privateer's Bounty coastal gun. The town hall was moved east where the construction yard used to be, which has been subsequently moved further south. The temple and safe house locations have been swapped. An encampment house was added. For Sableport, Light's End has been converted to a naval base. The observation tower has been moved north. The town hall area has been flattened a little bit, and there's a passage between the elevation at the edge of Wheatstone Forest and Lie Fields. Weathered Expanse, White Walk has become a naval base and has taken more of the importance of the region as opposed to Weathering Halls. For White Walk, the terrain south of the town was flattened. The northern beach has been moved further inland, replaced the storage depot with a seaport, and added an observation tower, whereas Weathering Halls, the seaport was replaced with a storage depot and a dock area, and the world tracks were removed. Next, let's talk about some new items. First up is the flight mask. The split for receiving intel between ground intel and air intel has been dissolved. The liaison radio from the Airborne update is no more. It has been replaced instead with the flight mask. This is a faction-neutral piece of equipment that goes in the gas mask slot for your soldier. And this will allow a pilot to receive intelligence in the air, ground, and air targets. Also, it scores you some extra style and charisma points, just because of how cool it looks. Next up, as it relates to air, are the air raid sirens. These are a siren that is mountable on tripods. When an enemy aircraft is within 500 meters of a siren's position, it will sound an alarm alerting everyone that enemy aircraft are overhead. The exception to this is scout aircraft. These are light and small enough that they won't trigger the alarm, meaning the scout aircraft not only can do their roles as scouts better, but also sort of double as stealth aircrafts. The last new item is the naval buoy. Once again, this is faction neutral, and this is a construction material for building a new structure, the Crespine netting. This is a faction-neutral anti-torpedo net that the Bellwether, aka the mine lane boat, or the tugboat, can construct using buoys. These nets will intercept small ships, which will be unable to break through, things like motorboats and infantry boats, and torpedoes. Now, they won't stop a large ship from breaking through. Large ships will just punch straight through, and several bursts of machine guns or light explosives can deal with them easily. But whilst your ships are in safe harbor, they should feel a little bit safer with these things. The last new item, or structure in this case, is the anti-air gun. We mentioned these briefly in the map segment, but this is a faction-neutral anti-air world structure. Think of these as the aerial equivalent of the coastal guns. When an enemy aircraft approaches an anti-air gun, it will fire 3 warning shots as the aircraft approaches. Once those 3 warning shots are ignored, the anti-air gun will open up at maximum fire rate and shred any enemy aircraft with impunity. Don't even think a skilled pilot can dodge these ones. Some changes to both the Colonial destroyer and the Warden frigate. Their interior layouts have been revised. This should make it easier to deliver ammo to the guns in the midst of a fight. Items from the large ship ammo rack can now be picked up with the large item interaction button, which is the V key on your keyboard by default. Just the same way as picking up a large item from a pallet or an ammo storage room, you can now pick up shells, primarily, from these ammo racks and place them directly into the gun without having to go into the inventory of the ship or of the ammo rack. And if multiple items are being stored in these racks, whatever item is visually being displayed is the item that you will pick up. You'll notice for the Colonial destroyer, it now has ammo racks at the fore and aft sections. Meanwhile, the Warden frigate is at the mid and aft sections. Some gameplay changes include the aerial interceptor array intel gathering changed from a radius around the structure to an aimed gathering operation. The array can now target areas to collect air intel at a range of between 500 and 6,000 meters. The closer the target is to the array, the larger the gathering area will be. Weather events at the arrays or at the target locations will increase the power cost of intel gathering. The array is not able to operate in the highest intensity snow or rainstorms. Some restrictions for paratroopers and paratrooper planes include large items cannot be held whilst wearing a paratrooper uniform. Transport aircraft have the following restrictions. They are unable to take off if any passengers are not wearing a pilot or paratrooper uniform. The aircraft is unable to take off if there are more passengers on board than seats available. Players are unable to change into any uniform but the pilot or paratrooper uniform whilst the transport aircraft is in flight. And weapons can no longer be used whilst on the transport aircraft. Fire suppression rooms can now be refilled using a truck carrying water, and a refuel button has been added to the fire suppression room. Minefields laid by bellwethers and individual mines themselves can now be detected by sonar pings from submarines and destroyers. Rare metal, rare alloy, and rare materials can now be reserved and crated at storage depots and seaports. And the small gauge railway track demolish window has increased from 6 to 7 days. There's been some optimization as it relates to adjacent region streaming. Many of us would have noticed the slight hiccup or hitch near region borders, especially noticeable when you're flying. With these optimizations, this hitching should occur far less frequently and less severely, so hopefully that doesn't bother your flight lines from here on out. CSV, X, and Y values have been adjusted to no longer output commas in some cases, and there was also an entry added to the option menu, allowing players to enable or disable exporting empty entries into a stockpile. A southern variant has been added for the coastal gun. Restrictions have been added to reserve stockpiles, disallowing names consisting of unsupported characters, commas, or exclusively spaces. Draw has been renamed to Stalemate. There have been some improvements to large physics calculations, hopefully reducing some erratic large ship movements. The base warning siren, produced when a ballistic rocket is inbound, has been updated. There's been some improved character hand animations when gripping a tripod weapons in anti-air mode, and the 20mm icon quality has improved. Some balance changes include the Conqueror and Black Steel total ammo stockpile has increased from 450 to 600. Many items have been restricted from being stored in the barracks of large ships. The anti-aircraft shell has been added to the BMS Bluefin stockpile. The Swallowtail and Sagittari can now enter anti-aircraft modes. The rudderlock mine field depth has decreased from 15 to 7 meters. A coal recipe has been added to the bunker engine room. green ash quantity per crate has been reduced from 10 down to 5. The Ronin Fathomer health has been reduced from 1800 down to 1750, making it so that the Fathomer can be killed in 4 Quillback torpedoes, not 5. The BMS Longhook health has been increased by 25%. The Titan and Callahan health has increased by 15%. The Ronin Gunship Type C Charon mortar gunner reload time has increased from 2 to 3 seconds. The Talos steel construction material cost has been increased from 3 to 10. For aircraft, the Toxit, Blind Silver, and Luminary Mark II Harbinger high velocity damage modifier has been removed. The Tulka White Raven high velocity modifier has been reduced from 75 down to 25%. The Tsikalia and Tulka Welkavern health has been reduced from 15,000 down to 10,000. The Pegasus and Zealot paratrooper planes have had their health reduced from 8,300 down to 7,000. Scout aircraft low velocity modifier has been increased from 10 to 33%. The Austringer Man of War health has been reduced from 10,800 to 7,000. For production of aircraft, the following changes. The Toxit, Luminary Harbinger, Murgov Myrmidon, and Tulka White Raven have all had their thermal shielding costs removed, and the production time reduced from 4 down to 1 hour. The Man of War thermal shielding cost has been removed, rare alloy cost has been reduced from 6 down to 4, and production time reduced from 4 down to 1 hours. The Pegasus and Rinspear paratrooper planes, rare alloy cost is increased from 4 to 6, production time reduced from 6 to 2 hours. The bombers, the Tsikalia and the Welkavern, production time has been reduced from 8 down to 4 hours. Aircraft mechanical parts, large, thermal shielding cost has been reduced from 1 to 0, production material cost has been reduced from 35 to 0, and steel construction material cost increased from 0 to 5. For aircraft engine large, thermal shielding has been scrapped, process construction material has been scrapped, and instead it costs 15 steel construction material to produce. For aircraft engine large, repair costs, the process construction material cost has been scrapped, as well as the assembly material 4. However, the thermal shielding cost has increased from 0 to 3. Aircraft mechanical parts, small, repair costs, has scrapped the process construction material and assembly material 3 cost, and instead the thermal shielding cost has increased to 1. And for aircraft engine small, the repair cost has scrapped once again the process construction material and assembly material 4 costs, whilst increasing the thermal shielding costs from 0 to 2. Essentially, a lot of these costs are scrapping the process construction material and steel construction material, whilst replacing it with thermal shielding costs. There were some bug fixes along with this update, but I'll save that for the patch notes down below. And that about does it for this update. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you saw in the video, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out and keeps me up in the air, or afloat, or bleeding slightly less on the front lines. Whew, these 6-week dev cycles really brings me back. Reminds me a lot of the first year I did Foxhole update videos. And you know what? That was approaching a decade ago at this point. 10 years. It'll be the 10th year that Foxhole has been available to the public, and 10 years that I've been covering it in August. So, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for that, but I'm going to do something alright. And as always, good luck, keep your heads down, stay in your foxholes. Bear,
Callouts to your teammates.
Hopefully this tutorial has been helpful to you. Hopefully this will keep you alive past your first few hours in the game. Just remember, work as a team, keep your head down, and stay in your foxholes. Good luck. Bear